Morning, everyone, and welcome to Homecoming 2017!
Every year, the Limburg staff kicks off homecoming with an amazing skit filled with funny jokes, dances, cool class references, awesome stuff. And so today I am with Mr. Bale and Dr. Stevens, who are the writers of the staff skit. They've been writing it since 2003, and today we're going to hear their thoughts on homecoming. Talk about what the process is like writing the homecoming skit.
Sure. So we wait to hear the themes for the other classes, like the 4 classes, and then because we don't want to take something away from one of the classes, and then we get together and think about what we would want to choose as our own theme, and then let those ideas germinate right at the end of the school year over the summer, and really get started with the real writing process in the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, it's a process that we slowly integrate more people. So it generally just starts with now the 2 of us, and over time, as need be, more and more people are brought into the fold, and sort of the masses are only brought into the fold, and generally in early September.
How did you guys decide on the theme of lip sync battle?
I think it was me this year.
Yeah, it was.
We try to pick something somewhat topical. We do try to stick to the theme. And we looked at what was already selected. Of course, the seniors were a great big mystery, although we did know their theme. So we said, okay, there's video games taken in terms of the classic arcades, and there's some board games. Can we find a different type of game? So we went through and tried to find all sorts of different things. We thought of everything from card games to everything, parlor games, and then we thought, hey, there hasn't been a game show. So we went in that direction, and the lip sync battle has really kind of been exploding on the internet, and we thought that was going to be a great option, and it put us in the driver's seat to really highlight many people. On the stage. We always look for things that can have a lot of roles. So we decided to give it a go, and the reaction was varied, but I think we ended up selling it.
I think we were a little surprised initially how few of our staff members seemed to know the show well. And so people were initially a little, I guess, maybe slow to warm up this year to the idea, but we sent some clips out to staff, and we always do a rollout where we're reading the script, just the 2 of us doing all the lines, to the staff, and send it out to drum up interest for being part of the performance, and that really seemed to work. This year, the concept of having the 2 schools be have it be a semifinal, because initially we're like, oh, that's going to be a little strange to have Limburg versus Gunn. And then the idea came well, what if they were actually in the semifinals to compete against Gunn next week, which was very meta because that was actually going to happen. And then you had the idea about dividing the 2 competitors into the Sixers and the Kings, and then we'd be able to put the VI and the Kings together. And we went through the script read through with our own staff. We get to that line in the script, and the staff is like, oh, I get it. And so that felt kind of good.
What's the process like practicing for it?
It's hard to be respectful of, people's time and still have enough time to rehearse. But what we try to do is break down the skit into segments, and then have rehearsal for people who are supposed to be in one particular segment on a particular day, so that people know that they can come to rehearsal and we're going to get to their part when it's that day. And we rehearse voice actors and physical actors separately. We've asked Mr. Richmond over the years to be our kind of team lead for the voice actors, to be able to coordinate those rehearsals separately. And then we get together, we combine our first rehearsal the week of our performance.
So what do you guys value about homecoming, either as your experience as a staff member or for Mr. Bale as a student as well?
I value time working with you.
Yeah,
I do,
fun.
really. I really am grateful for our friendship. And the other thing, there are some really interesting things that come out of homecoming, particularly staff homecoming, that I think this is a unique opportunity on the campus. So a time to let our staff show their spirit to the kids, which was the original conception that the assistant principal at the time, who dreamed up this idea, that was his vision, was that this would be, our way of contributing to homecoming spirit. And I feel like that really does come true. And the other piece that is so valuable is the cross-curricular teaming. So by that I mean, for example, on the voice actors, there's someone from the math department, English, the library, science. We have, it was such a diverse group, and a student teacher from social studies. It's really kind of exciting that those opportunities for these people to get together and work together happen. There really wouldn't be another occasion for that. And people just, they're in a dance together, or they're in a scene together, and they're cast sometimes because they would fulfill that role particularly well. But Mr. Nguyen and, Senora Revilla did not know each other before, but then we're in every scene together, so had to get to know each other a little better. And I feel like that those connections really last. Yeah. You'll continue to see people saying, "Hey, how's it going?" or whatever, through their time that they spent doing homecoming.
I think the experience for students and staff is the same. I think it's about collective output. What can we do together? How can we bond? And as a student, as a class advisor, as part of the staff homecoming, it's all the same. I see it all the same. Is people that wouldn't normally connect are connecting.
Right.
And you gotta understand, teachers are incredibly busy. We all have clubs, we all have work that we need to do, we have union issues, we all have all sorts of things. This forces us to get together.
Right.
And there's a lot of healthy conversation and just socializing that happens during this period.
Right.
That will not happen the rest of the year. So those are relationships that are really important. And that's what I found out as a student, and that's what I also found out as a class advisor. This just brings people together. And anything that can positively bring people together is good. And I really love that aspect about it.
You guys have the most elaborate props, ever.
We have to. So we have to, if you think about the design of homecoming, the current homecoming, and I should say that homecoming has changed dramatically over the years, incrementally. If you go back to the 1980s, there were no skits in the early 80s, and things have morphed over time. But we don't have hundreds of people standing in front of a backdrop, which is the current model.
Right.
So how does one put on a show? And we naturally have to go back, in fact, to some of the student ways that was done in the early 90s, say, where the classes weren't as large. So you filled it up with large-scale props. And so we rely on a team of people to bring that to life.
That's true. There are so many people working behind the scenes. So there's the people who design and build with you, the set and sharing props. There are the people who help with things like our door decorations. That was a team this year that involved and our backdrop, and sometimes we're using student labor as well to help us with things like painting the backdrop or those types of skills. But I just appreciate that there 2 teachers this year choreographed our staff dance for us and stepped up and did that. That was so helpful. And we have a lot of people who are willing to help that don't necessarily want to be out on the stage performing, but want to contribute in a way that they feel makes them feel like they're part of the experience.
And costuming is always an individual job.
Right.
Dr. Stevens is great about dreaming up ideas and having a vision for what people want to do. The special good notes that she had this year on 80s rockers. Excellent stuff. But largely that's the individual that comes up. They may have a small role, but boy, we've had some people go over the top.
Oh, absolutely.
Over the years,
right,
to make sure that they look fantastic.
Yeah.